I will start this. So this was, we were discussing what topic to have. And I think the most relevant topic nowadays, and especially with the kind of the theme that they were looking at, we decided that let's kind of discuss what are the mega trends that are coming over the next decade. And how our leadership in general, and specifically the CFOs, should kind of take care of those megatrends, get aligned to those megatrends, exploit the potential that it brings along. So we have tried to obviously not reinvent the wheel. I have obviously taken some notes from some of the books that I have read recently, and I will talk about them, and try to cull out what is most relevant and most exciting for us. So this is, I'll start with a small quiz. I will just ask somebody, anybody who wants to suggest the name of this country. Anybody has any idea? I mean, if you have read the book, please don't answer because it will spoil the fun. India. Oh, India. Oh, really? Okay. Any other ideas? Highest standard of living, richest nation, not yet. Yes, India in 2050 maybe, but not yet, I think. Okay. No ideas? Any other guesses? United States. Not everything out of this is true, and it's going to change. United States is also going to change in the next few years. I mean, India and China, as he rightly said, may become one of these in the next 20, 30 years. Sorry? Sorry, I couldn't hear. Singapore. No. Singapore is very tiny still. So the answer is Great Britain. Surprised, no? No, not exactly. You're right. It's not Great Britain. Actually, it is the British Empire in 1900. So obviously, it was a trick question. It was a trick question. So British Empire was all that in 1900. So why I'm trying to start with this is how things change over time. That's the whole idea of starting with the quiz. I mean, in the past 100 years, from that 1900 circa, how things have changed. I mean, these are the big things that happened. Obviously, the United States became one of the most dominant superpowers. Soviet Union came as one of the superpowers, went away as a superpower. European countries came together. Things are happening in EU. And obviously, then the economic resurgence of China and India. As you rightly said, China is going to become the largest economy in 2030 or 2050, I think. India will be the second. US will become the third, maybe. If you look at the purchasing power parity, actually India is already, I think, the second country now, second largest with PPP in terms of the PPP. So huge changes. And the idea of showing this is that how the megatrends and how things change over years. And this has taken 100 years. I think the next time it won't take 100 years. Next time maybe 30 years, 50 years, things will completely change. That's where we will talk about the megatrends. And as I said, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. Like 2050, China will be the largest economy. As I said, India will be the close second. So now, predicting the megatrends and our response as leaders. Prediction is very difficult, Mark Twain said, and especially of the future. Of course, prediction is about the future. So he said, he's a humorist. So he said, prediction is difficult, especially about the future. But we still have to predict, because if we have an over-reliance on what is it today, then we might make wrong decisions. We may not be prepared for the tomorrow. So we have to still predict. We still have to think about the megatrends coming, what is happening, what's going to happen in 10 years, 20 years down the line. So we still have to do that. The megatrends. So as I said, I'm going to rely most of my discussions on this book that came out, I think, some couple of years ago, 3-4 years ago, called Leadership 2030 by Hayes Group. So Hayes Group published this book, and they did extensive research on the megatrends. They shortlisted some 20 megatrends to start with. And then, of course, there are many important megatrends that are going to come up. So, and they shortlisted it to the top six which are going to be most important. And here those are. The globalization, of course. Globalization 2.0. Globalization has been there for quite some time. Globalization now, second version, 2.0. Digitization, individualism, environmental crisis, demographic changes, and the technological convergence. Since I have just about another 12 minutes to go and then 5 minutes for Q&As, I will kind of do it a little fast. Most of the matter is there in the slides as well. and we can have a discussion in the 5 minutes that I have, or even later on over the coffee and the lunch. Globalization 2.0. New world order is emerging. As we just started this whole presentation and discussion, whole new economic order, political order is emerging, with China becoming the largest economy, India becoming the close second, United States taking the third seats. Now, I don't know after yesterday's meeting with Kim what's going to happen. Maybe Kim is, North Korea also will come in the global picture. So a lot of things are happening. The middle class, the global middle class is emerging. And East, obviously, as I said, is no longer a sweatshop. I mean, East is becoming extremely relevant to the global environment. As a leader, we will have to discard the single centralized strategy. The strategies will be more globalized, though we will still have global strategy and local presence kind of a philosophy, but the global strategy is going to become extremely important, which obviously globalization, diversity, embracing diversity and exploiting the diversity to the best for the business is going to be very key. And then the global compliance and requirements you cannot ignore. No business can ignore the global compliance and global requirements. Technology is shifting the balance of power in the organizations from the concentrated hands of few and in the hands of organizations to consumers now. I think nothing is more relevant in today's world than the kind of digitization boom that we are seeing. The power is shifting to the hands of the stakeholders and consumers. How will leaders, how will CFOs respond to it? As organizations and leaders, we will have to display higher levels of transparency, integrity, ethics. It has to be, because everything is going to be very transparent, extremely transparent. No more centralized powers. It will be in the hands of the consumers. Automation analytics will become obviously an indispensable tool. We have a panel discussion also happening just post-lunch on this, Analytics 4.0. We are still in Analytics 3.0 actually, but we have to start preparing for Analytics 4.0, especially as CFOs. So there will be a discussion on that. But I think these are going to be becoming extremely critical tools that we should be aware of. Automation, AI, all that. Data obviously will rule the world. But obviously we have to control and access the data and make use of that data. Individualism, we obviously see that already happening. With the globalization that I talked about, the technology, digitization that happened, people are discovering wide ranges of life and career. And lifestyle recognition, self-expressions, individualism, work-life balance, all that is taking precedence over just the pay or the promotions or the designations that we have. We are becoming very, very clued to these things, and as leaders, as CFOs, we can't ignore that for our teams. We have to learn to engage with the diverse talent that's going to move around globally, and we have to manage those expectations for them. We have to also integrate the digital youth, the so-called digital youth of today, with obviously people who have been here in the system for the last 20 years, because they have to live together, whether it is professional world or the social world. So that integration as leaders, we have to help in that as well. Environmental concerns, of course, there is enough and more said about environmental crisis that is happening. Worsening climate changes, obviously, whether it is due to the fast depleting natural resources, or even if we bring new innovative alternative sources, then there will be a cost explosion that may happen, so we will have to take care of that as well. So from both perspectives, for CFOs, it becomes important. What will happen is that it will very soon move from just a CSR activity to our bottom lines, and that's where CFOs will come, because environmental concerns will take a huge cost. As I said, like either as a natural resource depletion or as alternative innovative methods which may have huge cost. So this will become a mainstream bottom line operational P&L issue rather than just a CSR issue as we are taking as of now. We cannot ignore this. Demographic changes, again, enough has been said about this as well. We have not only a growing population, we have an aging population, especially in the West. Developing economies will experience the brain cycle, or reverse brain drain, as some people call it, and we have to manage that talent. We will have to embed our sustainable cultures. We have to, as I said earlier as well, we have to manage that youth or the digital talent that we have, which is very globalized, very young. So those are becoming important. Embracing technology with them, along with them, is going to be important. And this will happen at every level, at the government level, country level, and everybody has to pitch in. And we have read articles about India becoming very young demographically, having a lot of good workforce coming up in the next decade. But again, the government has to be very clued to making this as a demographic dividend and not a demographic disaster, because youth with not proper education or not proper career opportunities can bring in social unrest. So demographic dividend, as we call it, can become a demographic disaster. So this is again very critical point even for the governments, besides we as leaders, to manage that demographic change that's taking place. Last but not the least is the technological convergence. We have talked about digitization, and so technology is similar, but when I say technological convergence here, I think the difference is that we are talking about all the advanced technologies coming together and aligning together and transforming every aspect of our life. This is the convergence of all kinds of technology, whether it's nano, bio, information technology, cognitive technology. All that will be a part of the organizations and the growth coming forward. We have to, we cannot, I am also at times technology phobic, so-called, but I think there is no escape from embracing the technology in its complete full form. So this is again something that, as I said, the next 10 years or next 5 years also, humongous changes will happen in the technology front, in all these fronts, bio, nano, artificial intelligence, robotics, you name it. So I think the top 6 have been covered. I think I'm very much in time, so there is one more slide I will quickly show up since I still have time. That's more specifically for the CFOs, and this is a term I have actually, I have just coined, toss for CFO. So basically, you know, again, I'm very, I mean, I have spoken a lot about leadership in many conferences. Leadership is very close to my heart as a topic. At times it becomes very generic, so I thought I won't bore you with just the leadership topic, and that's why I spoke about megatrends and how leadership response should be. But leadership, people feel that it's easy and it's, you know, all of us are leaders, but to be very honest, there are a lot of things that are missing in all of us in terms of the leadership qualities. So I'm not going to detail those, but I'm just picking up some important 4 of them which are more practical. They are not theoretical, they are not that you can get in Google or any books. These are more practical, more from my learning. I just said, I call it toss for CFO. So think, assess and have a long-term and holistic view. Basically, be strategic. And I'm saying it again here, toss for CFOs specifically, because at times, I have a lot of CFO colleagues, and at times I have realized that they still are not strategic. They are still thinking very narrow. They are still thinking in terms of only numbers. They are still not getting into the business, understanding the long-term strategy. And that's why I said, think strategic, think long-term, observe. Internal and external dynamics, changes, trends, what are the catalysts for the business, that the environment that you work in. So you have to observe very closely. You have to observe everything that's happening for your business, for your industry, not only the numbers. You have to seek collaboration. You have to partner and guide all the other leaders in your company. Again, the times have gone when CFO used to be in silo, sitting and managing his finance and accounts and being a gatekeeper and all that stuff. I mean, all that are all hygiene factors now. You have to collaborate, seek information and collaboration from every other business leader in your organization. And last is the speaking, strategic speaking. Within your organization, with your colleagues, with your CEO is important. Speak the language. Otherwise, you won't be heard. Otherwise, you will no longer be considered a strategic CFO. So speak the language, speak strategic, sound strategic. That's what is toss for CFOs. So that's my presentation. I think I was in time, and I am definitely here if anybody wants to discuss anything.